Hey, what up everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope I'm having a great day. So I kind of wish I wasn't making this video, but we are going to be jumping into firsthand what may end up turning into one of the mother of all horror stories as far as service departments and dealerships go. So long story short, there is a GMC dealership that is severely trying to take advantage of my aunt. So we're on our way to go help her out. But before we run over to the GMC dealership, I need to run inside the Caterpillar real quick because the 299, well, she's struggling a little bit and she needs some love. So I got to go price out some parts. I got to figure out how to squeeze that into the budget because they are going to be a little bit on the pricey side. So as soon as I get that resolved, we're going to run down to GMC. We'll explain a little bit greater in detail what's going on. So it should be a pretty interesting video to say the least. And I really wish I wasn't making it, but we are, and we're going to share everything with you guys. So let's go ahead and jump on into it and let's roll.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree.
You are now free to roam about the cabin. So now that the electrical system has been disabled, so I've spent the last couple minutes getting this thing cleaned out. It is completely dry in there. There's no more diesel. There's no more DEF. Without that little red plastic clip, connector right there will never stay in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this thing run for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Alright, so right now we're trying to figure out how to
catch me howling at the
You guys, this is why I love Caterpillar. They had exactly what I needed, and then you get to see cool stuff like this while you're here. But I gotta hit the road. We are headed over to the GMC dealership where my aunt's like brand new 2023 beautiful Yukon Denali. It's got the diesel, and that's kind of where the problem stems from. It's because she accidentally put DEF in the tank, but we are on our way there. But I'm on my way over there right now to where we got to go ahead and start getting stuff squared away because what they are claiming is absolutely ridiculous. But first, look at these beautiful tractors. Oof. Guys, I usually don't like to put people on blast, but check this out. You guys see what's going on right there? Got two batteries sitting on the engine compartment, trying to jumpstart the other battery. I mean, I don't know what kind of operation this is. All right, well, we are pulling up to the ranch. We got the Yukon behind us, safely in tow, and we're gonna go ahead and try and get this thing dropped in the shop to where it's out of the range to where we can start working on this thing. The tow truck company that brought this out, he was like mobbing down the dirt road with me. Did a pretty good job. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and get the shop opened up real quick so he can back up into it because the rain is starting to come down and we don't want to get him out here too long because I do not want him to get stuck and I don't want to pull him out. So we're gonna be quick about this, but we'll try and do the best we can. All right, well, I'm glad I cleaned out this bay because this was all like super last minute stuff, but we have a game plan more or less. We're gonna go ahead and get the tow truck lined up. He's gonna put the bottom of the deck probably about right there, and then we're just gonna slowly roll the Yukon into probably about right here. And it's not very long, so it's gonna give me plenty of room to work on this stuff. So we'll see how this goes. All right, I went ahead and took my jacket off because it is soaking wet and I don't want to get the inside of her car dirty. All right, so I gotta be quick about this because we do not want any diesel going into the system. So I guess, let's see. All right, well, it is in the shop, so it's time to get to work, I guess. Hello.
Hello.
All right, well, huge thanks to Alex for coming out here. He journeyed the dirt road. Not all will do that, but the Yukon is here safe and sound because of it. So right on, man. Thanks a lot.
No problem. You have a good rest of your day.
You too. Drive safe. So if you guys ever wonder where the term Get Muddy came from, I think John actually came up with the channel name, but it's not hard to figure out why mud is a very prevalent thing around here. So again, huge thanks to Alex. He's taking off right now. But now the fun part begins. I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you guys what happened, tell you guys a little bit about why this super nice Yukon Denali is sitting in my shop. Now typically I do not do projects like this. Typically I usually only work on my stuff, but this Yukon actually belongs to my aunt, and I think that she was being extremely taken advantage of. She did make kind of a bonehead mistake. She did put DEF into the diesel tank, which is like a huge no-no. So again, this was completely avoidable, but accidents do happen, and she realized that she did it right away, and so she had the car towed down there. But what they quoted her to do was absolutely ridiculous. They said that they were gonna have to put in a new fuel tank, a new low pressure fuel pump, a new high pressure fuel pump, new injectors, pretty much an entire new fuel system, which, if you guys look up bulletin number 18-NA-361, it will tell you what to do, and that is not anywhere near close what these guys are trying to sell her. They were trying to sell her a completely new system. I think they quoted her $22,000, which just completely blew my mind. And that's why the Yukon's here, because we are going to be dropping the fuel tank. We're going to be removing the diesel. We're going to be cleaning the fuel tank. We're going to be purging the fuel lines, putting in a new filter, basically cleaning the entire system. But we are not going to be replacing fuel pumps, injection pumps, injectors. And if you guys look up that bulletin, at the very bottom of it, it will say no parts needed for this repair. And a huge shout out to my buddy's dad. You know who you are. He's the one that sent me all that information. So if a dealership's trying to milk you guys for 22 grand to replace the entire fuel system on this thing, we're gonna see if what I'm doing in this video actually works. And I hope that I can save you a bunch of money, because 22 grand is just unreal. I mean, you could go buy a car with that. So we're gonna go ahead and get to work. The first thing I gotta do is drop the fuel tank. We're gonna have to disconnect all the lines. I gotta go pick up new filters. I wanted to do it on my way out here today, but did not quite have time. So we're gonna be doing a bunch of work to this in this video, and at the end of it, we're gonna be taking it for a couple test drives. Hopefully after it dries up a little bit, because this is a very, very nice car. If it does dry up a little bit, maybe we'll fire up the old grader, or we might go grab the John Deere 210, smooth the road out a little bit. My big helper up here with me today.
Let's do it. And also, can we take it on the track?
Take it on the track? So now, first things first, anytime you guys are working on any electrical components, go ahead and disconnect the batteries. So we're gonna get this hood popped. Look at this beautiful red paint, guys. I really like this color, like a lot. Back when I had my K30, really like dark red colors. So for everybody that's been following the channel for a while, you guys know that pretty much all my trucks are silver. And originally, when I had my K30 square body, I loved the dark metallic red that it was, but it was near impossible to keep clean out here. So when I went and bought my 2002 Dodge Ram, I found a silver one, and I really liked how nice it held up and how long it kept looking clean, even though it was filthy. And that's kind of why I changed to silver trucks. I now have the silver GMC, the Peterbilt silver, and I like the color now. So originally, this was like one of my favorite colors for a car, but times changed. So anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and get that battery disconnected. And then I gotta get the car lifted up. We're gonna start taking a look under and see what it's gonna take to get that fuel tank off. Probably have to get the transmission jack over here, because I think it has roughly about half a tank in it. So it's gonna be a little bit of work to get there. Now, before we get too far in this video, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get some criticism from like certified mechanics and all this stuff. This is not a how-to video. This is simply me working on my aunt's car. And if it works, I hope that you guys can benefit from this information. If not, I do not want to be held liable for anything that you guys do to your car. So I am fairly confident in my abilities to go ahead and repair this thing for a lot less than $22,000. So we're gonna go ahead and get the battery disconnected. This is new, I haven't seen that. Not sure what that's all about, jump start port, but we're gonna go ahead and take this cover off so we can get this. Oh, I guess I don't need to. What in the world? Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the ground. We don't even need to touch this, just leave it alone. We'll go ahead and take this ground off though. All right, and get this set up kind of out of the way. Let's see. You are now free to roam about the cabin. So now that the electrical system has been disabled, we are going to get this car lifted up into the air. And originally I had wanted to set it on the car lift, but that was gonna prove to be difficult. So we have to just to set it on the ground. Gonna do this old school, just gonna work underneath it. And yeah, let's go ahead and crawl down underneath there and see what this tank's looking like. All right, so the lighting is just gonna be awful down underneath here, but I'll try and show you the best I can. So that's the fuel tank right there. There's a couple lines on the front that need to be disconnected. They're like some weird clips that you have to finagle a little bit, and then they pretty much just pull off. And then on the back end of the fuel tank is where all the fill ports are. There's a big one that's about that big, and then there's another guy that's about that big, which is for like the vent, I believe. And so I gotta get the ones on the back disconnected. I already have the ones on the front disconnected. And then there's just a couple straps right there. A couple electrical connections that you have to undo, I believe. And then the tank should just come down. So if you guys watched the last video where I went snowboarding, I did have one crash. It's not in the video, we didn't get it on film, but my rib is just like wrecked. It's hurting pretty bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and crawl underneath there, get everything disconnected. One of these days I'll like upgrade to the nice Snap-on set. I have the Milwaukee's for now. I actually really like them, but little by little, I am trying to get like American-made stuff. I do have their screwdriver set, which I really do like. I like how organized their stuff is. I like that they usually come in nice cases. So another thing that'll come in handy when you're dropping the gas tank is a transmission jack. If you guys have one of those, it has a big plate that you can lift up. It's a lot more stable than just a normal jack. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. We'll get all that stuff slid under there, and I'll go ahead and finish disconnecting everything. All right, hopefully this old bird still works. I probably removed and installed the transmission that was in my old square body probably a solid 10 times with that transmission jack. And if my memory serves me correctly, it worked last time I used it, so hopefully it still works. And my GoPro battery is just about to die, so we're gonna put it on the charger for a little bit. When I pick the camera back up, we'll probably have everything removed, and I'll go ahead and show you guys what everything looks like. So, all right, well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day. I did get the tank out. I went ahead and like taped off all the inlets and outlets. Not that it really matters too much, because tomorrow I'm gonna completely clean this thing out. Gonna drain the entire tank. Gonna blow all the lines out. I'm gonna blow all the lines out on the actual car itself. But I'm gonna run into town first thing in the morning, get all new fuel filters for this thing, and then we're gonna completely purge the system, get rid of all the diesel, anything that might be contaminated, as to not damage anything. And so once that's done, we'll go ahead and put everything back together, and I'll crawl under there tomorrow and I'll show you guys everything that gets connected to this. And it's kind of a tricky procedure to get this thing down, but if I did it, I'm pretty sure any of you guys can do it. But I need to call it quits because my rib is, it's not feeling too good. So I'm gonna take it easy the rest of the day. But because the fuel tank was pretty full, there was a lot of like awkward adjusting, holding in place, because the clips that go into that top piece, they're a lot easier to take off once you've dropped the tank down just a little bit. And to do that, there was like kind of like a little bit of a balancing act going on. And it just was like wreaking havoc on me. So anyways, I'll be back at it in the morning. Should be a much faster, easier day tomorrow. And we'll see you guys then. No, you can't see me, but I left the light on underneath there. Okay, for realsies now, I'm done. I'll see you guys tomorrow. So I've actually gotten quite a bit done since the last time I actually picked up the camera, but you guys can see we got a couple gas cans over there. We have the fuel tank right here. Then I have my very nifty Milwaukee fuel transfer pump setup that I built. This is actually a fuel water separator slash filter, and I've just been like pumping it into these cans. So these fuel water separators are pretty cool. They actually do a pretty good job. I've actually had to change the filter twice so far because it got so clogged up that it just wasn't pumping fuel anymore. So they do a really good job at preventing a lot of water from passing into the fuel system. And every single diesel in the world is gonna have one of these. Eventually they do get overwhelmed and they will let it pass through. And the easiest way to tell that it's time to change out is that the transfer pumps, they really start to struggle when these things start getting blocked up with water. As far as any type of machinery goes, like tractors, the big trucks, cars like this, they'll start to struggle when that filter starts to get pretty dirty. So overall, they do a pretty good job of keeping out any sort of contaminants, which is a good thing. So I've spent the last couple minutes getting this thing cleaned out. It is completely dry in there. There's no more diesel. There's no more DEF, which is like 70% water really. But it is completely clean in there. We've got this area cleaned, ready for that pump to go back in. But we're gonna go ahead and leave this for now. We're not gonna do anything with it. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking apart some of the other aspects of the fuel system so we can blow clean air through them. And one of the things that I did while I was down the hill this morning is I actually picked up an airline filter that removes moisture, because that's the last thing we wanna do is pump contaminants into the system. We want nice, clean, dry air going through the fuel system when we clean that out. So I gotta get this plumbed up, and then we're gonna get the air hose ready. We're gonna start disconnecting a couple things. We're gonna remove the existing fuel filter. And once we start taking apart the lines, from there we'll actually be able to see if there's any sort of contamination or if the fuel filter was able to do its job. I'm really excited to actually take the bowl off, take a look at the filter, and see if there's any signs of water in there. So when DEF and diesel mix, it's really not hard to tell the difference between what clean diesel is and what contaminated diesel looks like. So once we get that bowl dropped, we inspect the filter, we'll be able to tell how bad we're actually looking and how far we need to dive into the system to actually get it cleaned. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this plumbed up, and then we'll get that filter dropped, and we'll kind of start to inspect everything. All right, so on the bottom of the fuel filter housing right here, there is a little like a Torx key right here, and it's got all these fans that come off of it. You can go ahead and drain it from that. You guys can see how easily that spins. It's really not that tight. There we go. Got the little bleeder valve going, or whatever's in there. So we'll go ahead and finish draining that out. So we can open that up a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Also, I have found paint mixing buckets work great for this kind of stuff. This was like an automotive paint one. I bought a ton of these things back in the day. Pretty cheap. And if they break, you're not like crying over anything. So we'll go ahead and wait for this to empty, and then we'll inspect what it looks like. All right, we're just turning into a full-on mechanic shop over here. We got Mike showing up. He's gonna throw his truck up on the rack. I'm gonna open up a shop, man.
What's happening?
All right, guys, well, we are officially to the putting back together stage. You guys can see that I have the tank all cleaned up. We got all the lines that are actually attached to the tank itself put together. We got the sending unit in there secured in place. And the reason I didn't get any of this other stuff filmed is because I had temporarily lost my GoPro. So I will say that getting to the injection pump is a bear. It is super not easy. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, small hands would definitely come in handy getting that main line disconnected. That was super, super hard. But like I said, I lost my camera, but we did get that line cleaned out, and I have the new filter installed. I got the hoses hooked up to that. So there's really not too much else to do other than reinstall the tank, fill it up, hook the battery up, and reprime the system. And then once we get everything put back together, we get the car started, we make sure that it runs good. I don't think I'll take it for a test drive tonight. I'm just gonna let it idle because I super smell like diesel and I'm dirty, and I do not want to get into this beautiful car. If you have not seen inside them, it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of machinery. Anyhow, I'm gonna get this put back together. Should not take me too long. In theory, I'm guessing about 45 minutes to an hour. We'll have everything reinstalled, reconnected, and then I'll back my truck up here. We'll fill the tank with some nice, fresh, clean diesel. I just put a new filter on it too, so we're gonna try and put like the cleanest of clean diesel in here to try and make it as nice as we can. And then all that's left to do is start it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this put back together. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and show you some of the stuff that did not make its way onto the camera when we were taking it apart. So you have this electrical connector right there, which has a red pin, which is this guy right here. You do not want to lose this. You do not want to break it. Without that little red plastic clip, the connector right there will never stay in place. And that is a very fragile piece of plastic. So be very careful if you guys ever attempt to drop one of these tanks, because it is not hard to break that piece, and that will pretty much like end your progress. So don't break that piece. We're gonna go ahead and reinstall that clip. And then there's the hoses right there that connect to the tank. And it should be pretty straightforward after that. All right, guys, well, it is all back together. Well, pretty much a couple small things I gotta do still. We're gonna go ahead and put the cover plate back on. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay. Bump. I think that's on there. Still got the 10mm bolt in there. Go ahead and get that tightened down. And in all actuality, that did not have to come off. I just was taking a look at things. All right, so the last thing to do is we're gonna go ahead and pull my GMC in. We're gonna fill this thing up with diesel. We're gonna hook the battery up. And then we're gonna go ahead and start it. We're gonna let it run for a little bit. And if everything seems good, we're gonna put it back on the ground. And I have to hook the traction bar back up. The only reason I haven't done it yet is because it's not on flat ground. And the other reason I haven't hooked it back up is because if we do have to drop the tank one more time, that's just gonna be more work that I have to do to get the actual tank down. So we're gonna go ahead and leave it disconnected for now. I'm gonna pull my truck around and we'll get this thing fueled up. I'm a horrible liar and I hope you can forgive me. I forgot one hose clamp, and that's for the filler neck. So I just gotta crawl underneath there. Super easy to do. And then from there, we'll go ahead and fill it up. And I almost forgot, I pulled the fuse that went to the fuel pump, so I gotta put that back in real quick. And then it's time to start it. All right, well, let's go ahead and throw some diesel in this bad boy. So I was gonna fill it all the way up originally, but on the off chance that I do have to drop the tank again, I think I'm probably only gonna go about halfway. So I'm not gonna start it yet, but we're gonna go ahead and let the car start doing its thing and start getting fuel in the system and all that good stuff. All right, well, the car has been awakened. It's starting to do stuff. I think I hear the fuel pump going. Man, this thing has a quiet fuel pump, but I think I heard it ticking away. Yeah, I can hear it humming just a little bit. So we'll let it sit for a little bit, get some fuel in the system. Let's see if it's gonna, oh, it already went back to sleep. This car's way too fancy, guys. Still saying that it's empty. Battery low, start vehicle. She's been sitting too long, guys. All right, guys, well, I'm sure you can probably hear the faint hum of this 3-liter Duramax, but she has been running for probably the better part, I want to say 10 minutes, and it's not like sputtering, it's not making any weird noises. There's no existing alarms other than key missing, check for key, because I took it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this thing run for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm actually gonna run home, take a quick shower, and we're gonna go for a little test drive, get it up to temps, get it nice and hot, cook anything that for some reason may be in the system, even though technically there should not be. I just want to make sure that everything's nice and clean so that when I do take it to my aunt, she doesn't have any problems and I don't have to bring it back here and work on it anymore. So we're gonna let this warm up, we're gonna let it sit, and then we'll be back and take it for a test drive. All right, well, I know you guys aren't gonna be able to see much, but we are headed out for our test drive, and so far so good. And I really like the feel of this car so far, even though we're just barely headed out the entrance right now.
All right, so right now we're trying to figure out how to turn the volume up. Wait, Dad, I think it's this. There you go. What? I'm a 4th grader. I'm smart.
All right, we just pulled back into the shop in the Yukon, and I think it's safe to say that everything is a-okay. Now again, like I said in the beginning of this video, this is not like a how-to, this is not a tutorial. I take zero responsibility for anybody that does the same thing that I do. I'm just showing you guys what worked for me. And as of right now, the Yukon is good. So we're just gonna go ahead and add some def because the def range light just came on, which was the original cause of it. So at some point tomorrow, we're gonna go ahead and take the car back to my aunt's house. I think we're gonna have lunch with her. And then when we get back, I'm gonna go ahead and print up the actual service bulletins from GM so you guys can see what they actually say to do. And there's actually 2 different bulletins that we have. One's from the dealer, which I don't know 100% that that's like an actual GM bulletin. I think that's like dealer guidelines, because the GM bulletin that I have is completely different. And we're gonna go over the differences and why I think this dealership was trying to take advantage of my aunt. Now I know that they're trying to cover their bases. I know this stuff is labor intensive, but $22,000 for that repair, you guys, that seems a little steep. So anyhow, we'll be back at it tomorrow. All right, well, as you guys can tell, the Yukon is no longer in the shop. It has been replaced by the 299, which is going to be in either the next video or in 2 videos or somewhere down the line. But regardless, this thing is having some pretty serious problems. I'll go ahead and show you guys real quick what's going on. The hydraulic fan basically blew its seal, and it's kind of leaking hydraulic fluid all over the place. So in the beginning of the video, when I was pulling up to Caterpillar, that's actually what I was getting, was a new seal kit for this. So that'll be in like the next video or 2 to come. I'm gonna start taking this thing apart today. But as far as the Yukon goes, I drove it for, I wanna say about an hour, maybe 2 hours yesterday. Runs great, 0 issues. We are gonna bring it back out here after she's run roughly 2 tanks of diesel through it. And I have another fuel filter for it already, so we're gonna swap it out again, just to make sure that everything is like 100% clean. But getting back to the technical side, I do have the service bulletin here from GM. This is like an official document. You guys can look it up on your own. And this is why I think my aunt was kind of getting hosed. So definitely the fuel system can be a huge, huge problem. I don't want any of you to misunderstand me and thinking that I'm taking this lightly. It can wreak havoc. It can destroy like injection pumps. It can destroy your injectors, because when DEF dries out, super crystallizes. And that's where it's really gonna cause the damage, is once it hardens and solidifies and starts to like plug things up. So it can be a very serious problem. If you do put DEF in your tank, try and resolve it as quickly as possible. Try really hard not to turn the car on. But I'm gonna go ahead and go over this service bulletin from GM. As you guys can see, we do have like a Silverado 1500 2023 with a 3.0 liter diesel. And if we flip this over to the backside right here, you guys will see the GMC portion does say Yukon 2021 to 2023, which this one was a 23. It only had 10,000 miles on it, but you can see the 3.0 liter turbo diesel right there, the LM2. which after driving it, you guys, I really like that car. So it's not a rocket ship like the 6.2 liters, but with that diesel and the 10-speed transmission, it's just a very smooth, consistent power. Very nice car to drive. So anyhow, all right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. On page 3 is where it actually starts talking about some of the problems. Shows you a picture of the fuel filter, and it talks about some of the trouble codes, some of the problems that the customers may be having. We actually did not get any of these trouble codes because she didn't even run the car. She realized that she put it in before anything actually happened, but you guys may have like a fuel rail low pressure, fuel system lean, fuel system rich, injection quantity too high, misfire detected. There's a whole bunch of codes that it could be. Like I said, we did not see any of those. All right, so here's the kicker. We're gonna go on over to page 4, and up here it says vehicles that have been misfilled. Misfueling or the presence of contamination in the fuel is not a product issue and should not be charged to warranty. All right, now I'm not an expert on this, but this is the part that gets under my skin a little bit. So typically at a dealership, there's like 2 types of services that go on. One is warranty work, and the dealerships make almost no money off of those. The markups are so small. Warranty work is just like a big thumbs down for the dealerships. And then 2, if you have like a customer cost issue, such as putting DEF in the fuel tank, they're going to completely change their rates. They charge a lot more. They're going to tell you you need to do this, 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 and this because they've got big old dollar signs in their eyes and they're just trying to get as much money as possible, which I do understand it's a business, but $22,000, guys, that seems a little bit on the steep side. And I really feel like in this situation, they were trying to take advantage of my aunt for a couple reasons. I've been in business long enough to know that like if you can attach emotion to something, usually you can charge a lot more. And the service writer was saying, you work so hard to get this car, you want to make sure that you take care of it right. You know, you deserve this, blah, blah, blah. And was trying really hard to attach emotion to this repair bill that was $22,000. So luckily for me, I have some super awesome friends that are actually in the business, and he's been working on GM stuff for a very, very long time. And he's the one that actually pointed me to this, sent me the bulletin number, so huge thanks to you. You know who you are. We're gonna go ahead and jump on into this a little bit more. Problem number 1, it says test for the presence of DEF in the fuel. Refer to contaminants in the fuel diagnosis in SI. So problem number 1, right off the bat, is DEF in fuel. So they're obviously aware that this is gonna happen. And then from there, it goes on to talk about information on fuel water filter removal. So it's gonna show you how to take out the filter. Talks about contaminants, drivability concerns, loss of power, all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and put that page down. On page number 5, it tells you how to remove the fuel water filter from the housing. It tells you to be careful not to contaminate it stuff, flip it upside down. And then on the next page is where it starts to get a little bit technical. So it says inspect the fuel water separator reservoir for filter and heavy debris. And then it goes to talking about fuel system flushing procedure. So flushing the fuel system is the hard part. That's what took the longest, disconnecting all the lines, getting to where the actual fuel pump was. That was a bear. So that's the hard part, which if you're not feeling up to the challenge, I definitely would recommend taking it to an actual shop because disconnecting those lines was not very easy. And you need a couple special tools to do that. Nothing too technical. It's just like a little insert tool that after you take the clip off, if you guys go back and look at the video with the injector problem on my Duramax, I'll show you guys that tool. Actually, I think I have one right here. Let me go ahead and show it to you guys real quick. Somewhere down here. Oh, where'd they go? Yeah, they look like this. So basically, this wraps around the fuel line, and then you push it in, and it releases a little clamp. Then the next part's a little bit tricky, but it's not overly complicated. You're really just disconnecting the lines. You're gonna be purging them, and it's all here in this. So really that's gonna be like the only specialty tool that you need. You will need some big sockets to remove the fuel filter housing, but other than that, it's really not super complicated. And that's why I was so upset that they wanted to charge $22,000 because it's really not a super complex fix. And they sent over this diagram of like, if DEF goes in the tank, you instantly have to change everything down the line, which they even wanted to put in a new fuel tank. You guys, how hard is it to clean a diesel tank? It's really not that hard. I don't get it. I don't understand why you would need a new fuel tank. I don't know why you would need like a new fuel filter housing. There's just so much stuff that did not need replacing that they were instantly like, boom, 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 boom. They just started listing everything, and it was just an unreal expense. So anyhow, yeah, if any of you ever put DEF in the tank, the first thing I would recommend is disconnect that battery so you don't accidentally start the vehicle, so you don't actually get DEF into the system, because as soon as you even like hit the start button, I think it starts priming and it'll push fuel in a little bit. So yeah, anyhow, I'm super glad that we're able to get the Yukon working. It drives great, runs great, no issues, and saved a ton of money. Anyhow, I think I've talked long enough about this. If any of you guys do this, this is a super awesome walkthrough on what to do. Again, it is bulletin number 18-NA-361. It's right there. You guys can see that was updated March of 2023. So it's not that old of a document. And it pretty much walks you through the entire process of what to do should you contaminate your diesel. So I'm super glad that the Yukon's running great. As of now, no issues. Like I said, we are going to change the fuel filter out one more time just to make sure that like everything is super, super clean. I still cannot wrap my head around that. A $22,000 repair bill. That is just absolutely insane. But I'm going to put the screws to this video because I got to get to work on the 299. We are supposed to be getting a lot of rain. I mean, according to the forecast, it looks like San Diego is just going to be washing into the ocean. So the 299 needs to get fixed right away. And also, I just wanted to give you guys a huge thank you. The grader video that I put up like 2 weeks ago has broken records for me. It's got 10,000 views so far. I think the only other video that has performed that well that fast is when I went up to the mountains with the wheel loader to go help clear snow with Heavy D and his guys. So the fact that this grader video did so good is pretty awesome for me. Kind of a huge accomplishment, but thank you guys for watching. If you need a huge solid like, subscribe, share this with amigos, hit that notification button down below, because as soon as I'm done with the 299, the motor grader, I'm gonna pull it into the shop because I do have pictures, dimensions, and everything that we need to build a cap for this thing. So yeah, super excited to start working on this thing. And after this rainstorm, we might actually take it out and do some work with it because the road's in pretty bad shape. But regardless, I'll see you guys next time. Later.